There we go. Right, Mark, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yeah, all good.
Good. What's the December looking like? How's that shaping up for you?
Yeah, December's quite busy with the show schedule, but I've got a few days off before Christmas.
Okay. And what show are you on?
So I'm currently on Hamilton.
How long have you been on Hamilton?
So I've been there, I think, about 2.5 years now.
Okay. And is that? I mean, so when you do, when you get a West End chair, how much flexibility is there for you to do other things?
Yeah, I would say quite a lot of flexibility, really. It's obviously up to us as the sort of book chair holder to find depths for yourself.
Yeah.
But then, yes, you are within reason granted quite a decent amount of time off. So you could keep quite a full sort of almost like freelance schedule going if you so wished.
Okay. I mean, I've never done a show that's as long as 2 years. How do you cope with you're doing the same show every night, 5-6 times a week for 2 years? How do you cope?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting sort of concept, and I do sort of think about it from time to time. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with theatre for quite some years now, so I feel I've kind of got used to the repetition element of playing. It's something that's definitely a factor. And you, as we just said, you're able to take time off to do other projects. Do your own bands and music and so on and so forth to obviously create some difference for yourself.
Okay. And other than Hamilton, what else do you do?
So at the moment, this year's been a bit of a sort of doing stuff to my house, really. So actually,
I know that gig.
yeah. So this year has actually been more focused on that sort of stuff. But I from time to time, I cover on at the moment just another show. So I would potentially do some covering on a different show. I've been involved with some workshops of new projects and things like that. So yes, it's been quite a varied year for not just musically, but just with everything really.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you get into music?
How did I get into music?
You start playing? When did you get?
So music in general, I believe I was very young, sort of maybe 3, 4, 5, which was a local music class, generic. Sort of clapping along and tambourines and that sort of stuff. And I guess that sparked, unbeknownst to me, obviously, at that age, but that sparked something. And just sort of did it all through school, did a sort of, the classical singing, classical piano. Interestingly enough, never did classical guitar.
Okay.
I sort of came to guitar a bit later on. I was about 13. And it was basically just friends. It was actually mainly like rock bands, really.
Okay.
Friends were listening to stuff, and I just absolutely loved the sound of guitar.
Yeah.
At that age, I couldn't play. I didn't have a guitar or anything. But about 13, I heard bands like sort of Metallica, Guns N' Roses. The classic rock bands. Yeah. And and that led me to start at around 13 on guitar.
Okay. And what was it? Private lessons done through schools? Did you just do it on your own?
No, it was private lessons actually. Yeah. So when I was that age, I had a chap come to the house, private tutor, and he himself sort of learnt by ear.
Yeah.
So a lot of those early lessons were essentially me choosing songs that I liked. So I was like, can I learn how to play Living on a Prayer? And, things like that. And then he would either already know them or he would almost just sort of transcribe them by ear in the lesson and then teach it to me.
Okay.
So it was very ear-based, zero sort of theory or anything like that when I first began. Very much ear-based learning, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's similar to the way that I did it as well, and I think that is, I don't know. I think the the listening and transcribing and going through it that way is such a good way to kind of tune people's ear in,
100%.
rather than here's the sheet music or here's the tab book or here's a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm finding is that even, especially if I take on students that have come in from another teacher, and I ask all my students, what do you listen to? And the vast majority of them now are saying, I don't really listen to music.
Really?
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't listen to music? How have you ended up with me? Why aren't you doing something else?
Yeah, that's very shocking. Yeah.
Yeah, and even when I do have students that are, they've been playing a couple of years, I've got a few kids that have come to me midway through certain grades, and I'll put on a song. It's like, could you tell me can you hear the chord changes? Like, no. Do you know what chords they are? No.
Wow.
Any idea? Do you want to take that whole area just hasn't been looked at, and it's like, okay, well, and then you just start playing chords. Does this sound like a major chord or a minor chord? And I find the listening thing is just something that's just seriously lacking.
That's really
today.
Interesting. Yeah, wow, that's fascinating. Yeah,
I think just because everything is spoon-fed, like YouTube, Instagram, everything's spoon-fed. Here's the tabs, just click to download.
Okay.
And nobody's looking at the listening. So I'm on my own fighting this listening battle.
No, I mean, you've got a supporter in me. Yeah, I think it's so because when you're listening, you're absorbing so much more than just the guitar. You're absorbing everything. You're the vibe, the drums, the keys, the melodies, the lyrics. Yeah. You're soaking up so much more. Obviously, you're particularly attuned to the guitar, I guess, if you're a guitarist.
Yes.
But that's sort of sad, so sad to hear.
It is really sad. I think it's really sad when people aren't attuned to listening, and it's like, can you hear the chord changes as they go by? And it's something like that's really kind of like G major to E minor. It's like you should be able to feel that.
Yes.
And it's like, no, I can't. Like, I could understand if it was like a 1 to 4, you might not hear that subtle change, but a 1 to 6, you should be able to hear that.
Yeah.
And it's, like, sad is one word. And then there's an area of me that kind of like, well, how long have you been having lessons with this teacher, and how much have they been charging, and you still can't hear this, and you're not doing that? Like, why has that not been done?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I think the whole thing can, the whole floor needs to come up, I think.
Yeah, wow.
Well, from certain people.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's great shame.
Yeah. So what was your kind of the first couple of years of playing guitar? What was that?
Yeah, so the first couple of years for me, and again, I was lucky because I had two very good friends at the time, around 12, 13. And we all, and the other one was like similar to myself. The other friend was guitar, keys, and played a bit of drums. The other one was bass player. And we I guess we sort of all almost learned collaboratively, really.
Wow. Okay.
So we were like learning, so I'd have like lessons, and then maybe bring that to the sort of the band or whatever, and then we try and like flesh it out and stuff like that. And we were all kind of playing together, learning together. So I guess it was from an early stage. Looking back, I never really thought about it until now, but I think I was making music with other people right from the very beginning of learning, certainly the guitar. And it just gets you, I guess, used to the idea that you're part of something else, and other people are listening to you and feeding off what you're doing, and all that sort of stuff. And I remember we used to just learn songs by ear, bring like, I've just listened to like Green Day and figured it out, pretty much figured it out by ear. And then we'd play that and that sort of stuff. And obviously, if something was too complicated or had loads of chords in, we weren't ready for that. But of like more, 1, 6, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah.
And then we'd go through, play.
And what sort of year was that? Like mid-90s, early 90s, or?
Yeah, so that would have been early to mid-90s. It would have been like 92, 3, 4.
because I was looking
like
at like, I don't know if you see this on like Instagram. It's like there was one post that was like in 1991, these albums were all released within like 6 months, and it was like the Black Album,
Oh, right.
10
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Pearl Jam, then it
Pearl Jam,
was Soundgarden and
yeah.
Chili Peppers. I was like, what a fucking great year. And then you look at like all the
amazing.
years through the 90s. It's like, then there was Green Day turned up in the mid 90s. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what a great era for guitar music. Like,
It was,
if you were there, like at the coal face of music in the 90s,
yeah.
you were just bombarded with like great stuff.
Absolutely.
And when I look at like songs that kids want to, that do listen, like some of my students, when they bring in songs that they want to listen to, it's still songs all pre kind of 2000-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, well, what have people got today that's like guitar based? It's like, there's Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
But it's mainly just sort of chord stuff.
Acoustic-y, yep.
But what else? Like nothing that's like lighting a fire under people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just think, again, I think that's really sad as well.
It is really sad. I
mean, I'm sure there's stuff around, but it's not at the forefront. It's not on Radio 1. It's not on TV. You've got to go digging for it.
Absolutely. And I think, it was those bands, some of them that you've mentioned, I mean, just, unbelievable looking back, and what a time. And it was just the fact that obviously back then, not saying that people aren't super talented right now, but, back then, I think you knew that those guys they played for years together, they'd written the songs together, or, one of them had written it and then the others had fleshed it out. And it was a very sort of organic human experience. Like, those guys, like, obviously played multiple takes or whatever in a studio, but essentially they played it, and those bands probably played it like in real time, in like, this is take 2, start to finish.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously, a bit of editing going along. But I think that, and I think there's an energy to that way of making stuff that perhaps has been, lost today, where you can just, auto-tune every syllable of every word, and you can do a million guitar takes and a million drum takes and all of that sort of stuff. I think there's something intrinsically quite amazing about, just everyone focused. We've got to be perfectly in time, in tune, and capture a vibe at the same time. And I think those bands that you've named, I think they all basically did that. And it translated, and it like grabbed us, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like, as a listener, you were literally like, I remember the first time I heard, it was Appetite for Destruction. The first time I heard that, it was like somebody had literally physically grabbed me and gone,
fucking listen.
It was just like the most, unbelievable experience. I couldn't believe this, at the time, this glorious, sound I was listening to. I was just so drawn to it.
Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah, I mean, that intro, that Welcome to the Jungle, when it kicks off, it's like, ooh.
Unbelievable.
Oh, what the hell am I listening to?
What is that? What is that? And it's like, and I want to do that.
How do I do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah.
And that was the big one for me. That was the real big sort of like, and then like my first, proper electric was like I can't remember, I can't remember the exact brand, but it was like an off-brand Sunburst Les Paul.
Yeah. Low slung.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've
or
been,
as low as you can get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at playing low, when standing up. But yeah, in spirit, spirit.
Yeah. And that was such. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of what it was that I heard that was just. I think it was. It's not quite as rock and roll, but the first time I heard Oasis, I was just. It just like it shook me out of whatever else I was listening to. And I actually was chatting to my sister about it because she started listening to that kind of music before me. And I was kind of in this, I don't know if you remember that happy hardcore phase around the mid-90s. I was well into that at like 13, 14. And after about like 2 years of listening to it, it's like, okay, it's just getting a little bit monotonous now. And then I heard like, it was either Definitely Maybe or Morning Glory coming from my sister's room, and it just sort of like grabbed my ear.
Yeah.
And that was just the thing that just shook me out of whatever and just
That's it.
It just
sound,
it was all encompassing. It was like, this is what I've been looking for. You know, it's got the harmony, the rhythm, the lyric. It's not just
yeah, exactly. There's an artistry.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that you can tell a lot of you know, really high level decisions have been made across lots of things to create that.
Yeah, and that was it. Then I was in, and then
you're in.
Backwards through the 90s, I went through Nirvana, through Pearl Jam, Green Day, Metallica, and then but I think the first what the fuck am I listening to was Eruption when I heard that for the first time.
Oh yeah, it's like from outer space. You can't hit. You can't. Yeah,
I couldn't comprehend everything else that I heard, like Guns N' Roses, Jimi Hendrix. I could comprehend, I can't do it, or I can comprehend. And then when you hear that, it's like,
it's just like, what?
That's not a guitar. What is that? And he's like, no, it is. And it was.
And I think it's good in a way to experience, you know, things in a sort of progression, as in like those moments that we talked about where you're caught by something was potentially more like song based and vibe based. But then as then you kind of, you move more into like the guitar world, and then like hear, you know, Eddie and whoever, Vi and those guys, and you're like, oh my god, and then your mind is like opened and blown even more. Yeah, you're like, oh, this is what a guitar can. Yeah, I can, you know, like obviously nowhere near, or I was nowhere near that ability. Still not, but you know, like, but it showed you the progression, or like what could be achieved, and
it's funny. I remember. I don't know if you ever went to music college, but when my first day at music college, like we were gathered in this room, and the guy who was giving the lecture. Do you remember Eric Roach? He was the head of music where I was, and he was. I went
there at ACM.
Yeah. What year were you there?
I went in 2001.
Oh, so I was there the year after. I was 2002.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wait. So,
just crossed paths.
Just missed you.
Just missed you. Yeah.
And I don't know if he did this with you, but everybody, everyone go around the room. I want you to name a couple of musical inspirations that you have, what you want to get out of the course, and everybody was like name dropping all their favorite guitar players.
Yeah, of course.
And I was there just like listening to bands and listening to songs. And later, when I was having lessons with people or the teacher, they would talk. They'd always ask me about my favorite guitar players. I was like, I don't really have favorite guitar players, but I have favorite bands and songs. That's because I think that's the route that I went in.
Yes,
it was it was songs that grabbed me. So it was songs that I wanted to learn, and
absolutely.
And then I got into the players.
Yeah, totally.
And I always found that, like, cause there were other players that were just named like Yngwie, Paul Gilbert. I was like, well, I get that, but I'm not drawn to music through that way. Like, I get it.
I know what you mean.
And when I want to work on technique, I'll go to those guys. But it's always, it was always songs.
Songs, which I think is actually a good way to do it. You know, for many reasons, because I think you can quickly forget that guitar is part of a band or an ensemble, whereas obviously those guys, it's the featured thing, and it's and like it can often be the super shreddy guys and stuff like that, and and it's, don't get me wrong, I love all those guys. Like, I can't play anything like them, but I love those guys. Yeah.
We aspire to be.
I the thing is, I've got to that stage where, like, obviously I can do some stuff, but I enjoy them more on a like genuine like listening level, because it's just the hours that they've clearly focused their entire life and guitar sort of prism of guitar playing into that that channel is well, obviously it's very impressive, but it's not something I've sort of I've done, I guess. I've done more of a broad broad take on stuff.
So I was booked on to do Rock of Ages a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, great.
Which was such a fun pad to play.
Yeah.
But it kind of highlighted like my 80s shreddy licks aren't quite up to scratch. So I'm going to, and I got to spend, the best part of a month just doing all these sort of tapping licks.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah.
And I was like, this is so much fun. And then having to do it on, like, I don't know, did you ever do Rock of Ages?
I didn't, but I know that it's, I know like Guitar 1, Guitar 2 have got they've got a lot to do.
And you're kind of on stage as well, so there's interacting with like some of the
really
cast
vibey.
as well.
Yeah.
And that was so much fun. But like going through all of those sort of licks and stuff, and like so much fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of highlighted. All right, so some of my choppy chops need to be a bit more choppier.
Absolutely. I mean, goes for me. Goes for, I'm sure a lot of people. It's again. I think it's unless it's an absolute passion and something that you dedicate yourself to. It's just like a muscle, isn't it? Literal. Like you can, if you don't use it,
you lose it.
You lose it a little bit.
Yeah. I also want to talk about, because you mentioned about when people were like in the 90s recording, you got a take to do it. Or a couple of takes to do it. There was a session set. I don't know if it was Aretha Franklin or it was someone of that era complaining about kind of Pro Tools and chopping and editing. So she would say, like, we have to turn up to the studio. You had 4 songs. There was a live band, and you had maybe 2 takes, and you got to get in and nail it first couple of times.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get it, we were moving on. And it's like that's an art and a skill that's now being lost.
Yeah, I think that I admire all of those musicians and singers. Around that time, probably. I'm guessing this is a wild guess, just off the top of my head. When maybe would it have all moved into the more like, take this, take that? Probably mid-2000s or something. I don't know, but like everything before that in the studio scene, was. Talent was unbelievable. Yeah, because it had to be. Yeah. Because you were booked at like wherever to record, and the artist only had an hour, or I don't know, to do it, and you were sat there, and you got to get it right. You chat through your parts, like the Funk Brothers and all of that stuff. They chatted through their parts, had a little huddle. Yeah, and then basically like boom, and then that's what you hear, and it's unbelievable. And I've always been completely blown away by those guys and girls.
Yeah. And do you ever get to do any recording?
Yes, I do some recording from time to time. Yeah, both at home and both in some studios and stuff like that.
And how do you feel the recording game has changed for guitar players in particular over the last 20 years or so?
I think in sort of broad strokes, the amount of work is just isn't there. There's a very select group of people, on guitar and other sort of rhythm section instruments that from they're obviously very, very good and were sort of, I guess, like a lot of things at the right time and knew the right people and stuff like that. And essentially they kind of do the lion's share of all of that work. Yeah. And obviously it's very great work and in lots of respects. So they sort of like, when they get the call to do that stuff, they sort of move their other commitments to be free for that. So, so the opportunities maybe don't come up so often for other people, Yeah. Which is fine. It's understandable, isn't it? It's like brilliant work and you've been doing it loads and you're attuned to it and a lot of the composers and all the other people that turn up in the rhythm section. Everyone knows each other and they hit records and it sounds great. And it's like, I get it. So, but at time to time, obviously, things do come up when, they've called everybody else on the planet. And I'm like, oh, I'm all right. I'm here. Free next Tuesday. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yes, there has been, I have been fortunate a few times to do some stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. And how did you end up in the West End?
So I ended up in the West End. Basically, I started off my theatre-based life, as it were, was covering for people on the UK tour circuit. Okay. So, like friends or people I came to know, it was basically like their gig, doing like the UK touring stuff, and they needed some time off, and I spent the time, learning the show and covered for them for a few days here and there, and then that basically led to, back in the day, it was sort of an audition to potentially get. I sort of didn't really know what it was for in a way, but I sort of went to this audition, and turned out it was to get a full-time tour, and then basically, in short, that led to spending some time on the UK tour circuit, doing different shows.
Okay.
And then a few years passed, and I've had this sense of like, I've kind of repeated every major UK town maybe 3-4 times, and and I should really think about being based at home.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough that I'd met a decent amount of people at that stage, and a few friends and colleagues had either had West End shows or was sort of leaning towards that, and I basically was asked to dep on a show.
Okay.
And then that led to depping on a few West End shows, and then that in turn, after depping on a few things, one of the guys I was depping for, he left a show to start a new show,
right?
And they, for some bizarre reason, asked me to stay full time.
Excellent. And so you mentioned like the early parts of your guitar playing was like you'd listen to records, you'd learn the songs, you go and jam them. How did you go from that? I assume you can read, to being able to read and do West End shows. What was your process there?
So that was kind of going to college, really. I was very conscious that when I left school, I'd basically all the guitar side of my life was done in private, really. I didn't have any formal lessons at school. It was all like private tutors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we'd maybe very, very, very vaguely touched on reading, but very, very vaguely.
Yeah.
And then it was just this sort of sense of impending doom almost. Like when I got to college, I was like, oh my God, because in my mind, I was like, because I went at 18 to college. And I just had this sense of like, oh my God, I'm going to get there and they're going to put, like in my mind, I guess it was almost like they're going to put Steely Dan in front of me, and, and all of this, like, or some kind of crazy zapper, in everything in a million time signatures. And I just chipped away at it. There's no great mystery. I just chipped away at it. I got some really good books, that I would hope are still available. I got some of the Berkeley Press books.
Yeah, I think I have that sitting on my shelf right now.
Yeah. So I got those. I got some other books that were recommended by like the tutors at college and other stuff. And I just sort of chipped away at it. And and again now, although you need to be able to read, to just fast track you into learning a show basically, and loads of other stuff. But again, it's a perishable skill. So again, like thinking about when you asked about the guys doing all the studio stuff and things like that, is like they're keeping their reading like, elite level because they're in the studios, they're doing it, they did this or that. So I find for my reading, it's sort of like, I might go months and not have to read anything. So obviously it gets a little bit fuzzy. Just haven't. And obviously once you've sort of learned your show, the music, or for me personally, the music is more of a kind of memory jogger. Than I'm sat there reading every single, like it becomes just I've forgotten that inversion of whatever, so I just so I think there can be a big myth about reading, and for your listeners and other people that are interested, I would definitely just say, yes, of course, any skill in life is a positive, and I'm definitely not of the train of thought that says, if you can read guitar, you can't play rock and roll and all of that stuff. Like that's that is, I would say, false. Like of course, it's not gonna kill your ability to play cool Jimmy Page stuff or whatever. And it of course it opens doors to opportunities, because you can turn up to certain things, and even if it's reading chord charts and stuff like that, it opens work opportunities. But with all that said, nobody should listen to this and go, oh my God, right, I've got to be able to sit and read some kind of that's you don't need to get to that level of like, whatever you consider reading something super, super crazy complicated, it's, and like complete reading in a show context nowadays, like complete dry read, really only happens in like absolute emergencies when someone's ill, and there's that like, can you? But obviously, if you've got your reading together, you know, and you maybe get the call to go and so and so on whatever show is ill, and then obviously you might be able to go and do it. So it's like a
Yeah, I mean that was the great myth for me, because I think it was about 2 years ago. I came back from a gig at 4 a.m. I'm early 40s, or was early 40s, 2 kids. I was like, I don't want to be doing this 4 a.m. shit anymore. And I spoke to a friend of mine, and he said, why don't you look at doing theatre work, even just Amdram stuff? You'll be a week on a show, you're done by 10ish, home by 11. I was like, well, that sounds great. So the money's not as good as doing like function stuff till 4 a.m, but if you get a week run and you're around the corner, you're in at 7, you're home by 11. It's
many
really,
other benefits. Great. Yeah.
So I then started to get my reading together, and the fear was, like, when I got booked on my first show, I think it was Greece, which is quite an easy read. I got the pad a month before the show. I was like, oh, I thought I'd turn. He's like, no. He's like, no, we don't want you to turn up, like, try read it.
Correct.
We want you to know it so that we can actually perform 100%. And play it. So, okay. But then I got Legally Blonde.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was like, I think I'm going to need more than a month. I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah, Legally Blonde, for those out there that don't know, so it's, based on the movie and stuff like that. And you might think, oh, GCD,
not a fucking chance.
Wow. Like, if you're ever asked to play Legally Blonde, the musical, you need a seatbelt. Yeah. You need a seatbelt. I've played excerpts. I've played bits for like when somebody does like songs from the shows.
Yeah.
But I've looked at the pad, and it's basically, it's the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
So if you're ever invited to like college production Legally Blonde, I would absolutely advise people do it, but just get that seatbelt.
Yeah. You're going to be in for a while.
You're going to be in for a ride.
Yeah, but it's once it was down, like, such a fun one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what as I said, I've never personally played all of it, but it's exactly that. It's like super brutal. It's like, I think it's probably almost everyone's idea of waking nightmare.
Yeah.
Somebody going, right, like, this is, sight read this.
Yeah.
And,
it was, but like, what a tool to get my reading up to.
Yeah, amazing.
To scratch.
Yeah.
Amazing. And there's a few. I heard that Mary Poppins was also a bitch of a read.
Yeah, and both were actually played by a fabulous guitar player, Pete Callard.
I know Pete. Yeah, he's been on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, chef's kiss.
Yeah, like,
amazing, and nobody, like, he would eat both of those up. And he did. He's, I heard him play Mary Poppins. He sounded amazing. I didn't actually hear him play Legally Blonde, but unbelievable talent.
But good. Yeah, but that myth of just turning up, here's the pad, off we go, that was actually like a relief for me. I was like, okay, so if I've got some time, like, I'm used to learning shows and embedding them internally and just playing it. So, and then having the pad there, like you said, it's now there as just like a mental little, here's that little
jogger.
But is that bit? Okay, yeah.
Correct.
But then you get to actually perform and play it as we perform and play it, rather than having to read it and sweat through it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if anybody is, just thinking of the show stuff, if anybody is learning a show or to dep on a show or anything like that, that's exactly what I would advise. I would say, learn it, almost so you can play it blindfolded, and then have the music as a jogger, to just refresh you in the moment. But do your prep.
Could you do Hamilton without the pad?
I'm working towards it, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm close. There's a few little bits where there are some sort of similar inversions.
Yeah.
On there's a character of the king in the show, and he comes back, about 3 or 4 times throughout, and it's slightly different inversions of basically like E minor, G, D, C, like cowboy chord, but slightly different inversions, and just I haven't quite trusted myself to not look at those ones because they're so similar when they. But the main bulk of the show is up here.
Yeah. I mean, I sat in with Tommy when he was doing Mormon, and and I think he's been on it for like 10 years. So I think he was probably in the pit when I saw it when it first opened. And I said, "Could you do it without the pad?" He's like, "No."
Yeah.
He said, "But that's a different skill. Like,
it is a different skill."
He said, "It's like I don't need to do it without the pad because the pad's here." And I was like, "Well, what if the pad caught fire?" He said, "Well, there'd be no gig."
Yeah. And it's fascinating. There is definitely people like there's a musician on in Hamilton who's the same, who's played it since the start.
Yeah.
But is very much like, you know, I he's like classical musician, one of the string players, and he's like, you know, he reads it and it comes out, you know, and he doesn't commit it. He specifically doesn't commit it to memory.
Yeah.
Whereas I think going back to what we were talking about how we learn the guitar and all of those sorts of things, I still, even though I've obviously learnt it by looking at it, but over time, I basically memorize it, which I think harks back to how I began, you know, sort of just like memorizing stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's the early skill of doing that. Is almost like a default.
Yeah,
certainly for me.
Yeah, it is. It is a memory thing, and like I do commit it, but I understand, like, you know, Tommy's a very good reader.
Yeah,
very good reader, and I can imagine him just, you know, he sees it, comes out, you know, maybe again he doesn't commit it to memory.
Yeah,
but for me, I think when and if I'm lucky enough to have the time to learn a show, you know, like the preparation time, I think I'm naturally just committing stuff to memory, even in those early stages of learning.
Yeah.
Just because of how I, you know, started on the guitar, really.
Yeah. And do you think with with all the access to music, the access to lessons, do you think there's anything that's missing that people have? Like, particularly people who are in kind of early days? I mean, I don't know if you do any teaching or anything, or if you're just 100% playing.
I have done in the past, but currently don't have any sort of active students. But I have taught in the past. So I guess I don't know, you know, maybe as well as yourself, but I would, just thinking back, all I can, I suppose, advocate is my own experience in a way, and just sort of say maybe playing with other people. I don't know whether, you know, the fact that everything, like you said, that everything can be internet, you know, learn, so on and so forth, and you know, I don't know whether people at school are actually playing together in early days, whether it's basically like a solo flight, you know, and then it's like eventually down the line, I'll play with a drummer, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that is a thing that's sort of, you know, and again, I feel lucky that as I was learning literally alongside people, and we were all and again, without realizing it, we were all learning about like time and you know,
I mean, one of the high schools that I
sort of stuff.
One of the high schools I teach at, I've kind of filtered out all the schools in my area. Those that have good music programs and those that have bad ones, I've filtered out all the bad ones. And one of the high schools I'm at, there's like 4 practice rooms in the music building, and they've all got amps, drum kits, and I was sitting there. One of my students didn't turn up, so I had a spare half hour, and there was 4 or 5 kids in the room next door sitting there just playing Alice in Chains. I was like it was a bit ropey. I was like, I was like, that's so good.
It's so good.
Like, and it's so good that the teachers allow them to come in during lessons as well and sit there and just jam.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I'm like, fucking amazing. I was like, I've picked a good school.
Yeah, that's exact. I would say that's, you know, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I would definitely advocate people as early as they can to play with other people. You know, that again, if it's another guitar player or anybody on another rhythm section instrument, really.
Yeah.
And just get like learn together. Because it's invaluable. Because eventually, you know, if you want to become a professional musician, unless you develop your own solo career and solo guitar play, I mean, you're going to be playing with other people.
Yeah, definitely. And is there anything, if you were to have to do your learning all over again, is there anything you'd do differently?
I would, well, I suppose if you could cherry pick, I guess, be exposed to more genres of music earlier.
Yeah.
Just to, you know, like I was very late before I'd heard any, you know, like sort of the Steely Dan type stuff that, you know, or any different genres really. You know, it was pop and rock for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
So I suppose looking back, it would maybe just have opened your ears even wider, even earlier, you know, to see what's available in the world, or what, you know, the guitar can sound like in so many different contexts.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, probably just because it's become, you know, part of life, probably reading on guitar earlier.
Yeah.
If because I sort of, you know, did it in reverse. I'd like got to a time, and then, like I said, had the panic moment of like, oh god, I've retrospectively got to figure this out. Whereas if it was all trundling away, from day one, as it were, I think it's just, you know, not even like focusing on it, but just like if it was there, I think it would have made life, probably a lot easier.
Yeah, that was one of the difficult things for me, is when I went back to learn how to read. Obviously, I did it when I was at the ACM, but hadn't really used it. Is being able to having to read stuff I could listen to and learn and play easier if I did it by ear.
Yeah.
And then having to sort of read it and plod your way through it, and like, oh, fucking hell, this is boring.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it's like walking through mud, isn't it? And
yeah.
Whereas if it was learned right at the beginning, you kind of go, oh, well, I wouldn't even be thinking about this.
Yeah. Or if I maintained it from leaving college.
Yeah. I mean, that's, like we said, it's reading in particular is a very perishable skill. And if you're not doing, it's like speaking language, isn't it? If you, like, I learned French at school, you know, but God, if I could say 10 words now, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And so what about getting better? What's your approach on, or your view on getting better, and how's that changed over the years?
So again, I think getting better, hopefully I've got better, you know, but it's via music and projects and things like that. So essentially, for me, it's not been like, right, today is a Tuesday and it's 9 a.m. and I'm gonna learn how to do X, Y, Z, you know, out of the blue. You know, I'm gonna 8-finger tapping. Why not? You know, I'm not that sort of self-driven. So for me, as I said, hopefully I have, developed, and got better through the years. But it's been via the vehicle of almost like needing to, like, a particular technique or something that's come up in a show that I haven't really thought about, or hadn't been asked to do, you know, in the past, rather than me sitting down just sort of inventing it out of kind of thing. Because, you know, I obviously at certain points I've had motivation to sit down and practice just for no particular end goal. But I think the most productive version for myself of getting better has been like needing to, I suppose, you know, like, oh, I can't play this particular, I haven't come across that technique, or, oh, right, I need to learn how to use an ebow and fly around the guitar, you know, or whatever. And it's been like that, really.
Okay. And what was it in the early years, or was it all benchmarked by songs that you wanted to play?
Yeah, I think so. It was just, first of all, songs, and then I think solos. So I you know, then I was like, oh, I want to be able to play Layla. I want to be able to play, you know, Sunshine of Your Love. I want to be able to play, you know, and it was all the solos that I kind of wanted to play. So that was kind of, the driving force back then was that sort of stuff, I guess. Yeah, started off with like the songs, the chords, and then literally went to one.
And how about practicing? Do you? I mean, you've kind of already answered the question, but do you ever sit down and think, right, do you know what? I did this thing last week. It wasn't quite up to scratch. I'm just going to work on X today. Or are you just not kind of
I sort of
like that?
Yeah, I think fundamentally I'm sort of not wired to be a habitual practicer. Which again, you know, obviously if you could change that, that'd be really handy because you'd have so much stuff at your fingertips at any given moment. So yeah, it's not like I sit down and go, oh, like my alternate picking or whatever is like terrible. I need to check this out, like out of nowhere. As I said, my version of practice is like for a purpose, I guess. So purpose based. But every time I get to it, I like curse myself for not doing it, you know. So it's like, oh, I really can't play that run, or or whatever. And then I always think to myself, oh, if I'd have just,
worked on
on X, Y, Z. So I think, my my practice is been, for the most part, been based around learning specific, things, projects,
things for a show. All right, okay.
Things for a show.
Let's, like, if I threw a hypothetical at you, you get a new show. It turns out you got a month to go, and there's this fucking wild, crazy line that you've been specifically asked you've got to do, and you can't do it. What's your process from going, can't do it, got it?
I think, and I've had that, I've had that where there's been bits and stuff. And for me personally, the only solution is just, it's like hours in the cockpit.
Yeah.
You just, there's no secret sauce for myself.
Yeah.
I literally just, the one thing I will do is I will, I'm going to turn up and I'm going to practice. I like, that's when I get focused, and it's like, and I will just do it for hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah. For as and for as long as I need, or obviously if you've got a very, specific window, but just like thinking, right, I need to maximize every moment to work towards that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. So you're just running drills over and over and over and over.
Over and over and over and over. Yeah. No secret. Like if I can't do well, the one thing that because like especially my alternate picking, because I think when I first started to get into like all that side of technique, the teacher I had at the time, we sort of or I found it more natural to like hybrid pick, or like economy pick. Sorry, economy pick. So actually, my like literal alternate picking is great. Really, it isn't sort of. I find it quite unnatural.
Okay.
So what I find I have to do is because of essentially like holes in my fundamental technique, I have to find some really unusual fingerings to certain phrases and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's just, skipping strings and things like that. I think sometimes I come up with some really peculiar ways to play stuff, basically, just to kind of fit my ability round a phrase or whatever. I might have to go A, Z to get to B,
Right. Okay. I mean, has anyone ever pointed that out to you? Is that something you've just noticed, or you see other people doing, like, oh, wow, no, I can't do it like that, so I've got to...
Yeah, I think it's just that. It's just I've noticed, like, the sort of... either see somebody else do it, or you kind of go, oh, like, I can't do it like that. But I always feel like I'll get there. So I'm never disheartened to the point where I'm like, I'll never play this. It's just sometimes I realize that I've got to, spend X amount more time than the next person, just to figure out the way.
Yeah. Would you say that you're talented?
Talented. I don't know. I think it's that thing of like, I feel like I was lucky that I was exposed to a lot of music, very young.
Yeah.
And, again, is it like talent? Is it sort of exposure to something? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I suppose I would say I'm like, passionate about playing, so, I mean, there's obviously an amount of predisposition to music, but yeah, I'm sort of really passionate about it. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think I always heard people say that, if you're driven enough, you can outwork talent. But I think there's a certain level where if you didn't have that nugget of talent, you wouldn't be able to leap into a certain arena.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but I think the idea of being exposed to music, I'm really interested in, because I have some students who I had a kid in here on Wednesday. Like, he's never played before. I showed him a G chord, and he could just sit there and just strum, da 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 da, and he nods his head. He's going, and I was like, "Yeah, you're playing. Yeah, this isn't going to be a problem for you."
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And then there's another kid that I just, for fucking 2 years, I cannot get him to tap in time to a simple 4 groove.
Yeah,
and I'm desperate to know why. Like, were you not exposed earlier? Like, but I ask him, how much music do you listen to? He's like, I don't listen to music.
Yeah, I mean, I
was like, that's got to be, that has to be the reason.
Yeah, I would say so. I would, that's the most logical.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly that. It's just, and like I said, when you're listening to something, you're not, whether you realize it or not, you're not just listening to the guitar. You're listening to everything. You're listening to the groove, and going back to all those amazing artists, like we were saying, who had to be brilliant, who were brilliant. Those studio players. So you're, unbeknownst to you, you are actually listening to like the best that's ever been. Like, you put on those 80s studio sessions with Lukather and Jeff Porcaro, and I mean, no, that's it. That's God tier.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you listen to them, you are picking up all that stuff, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Like, you are listening to Jeff Porcaro playing the best shuffle that's ever been played, but you don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because it's just, and it gets in your ear, and it's like anything. The more you are exposed to greatness, it's gonna rub off on you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it can't, if you're
not.
it can't not. Exactly. And again, it's just I would always advocate that. Listen to the best. Whether you choose to, like, I love Luke, I love everybody. I love Pat Metheny. I can't play anything like Pat Metheny, but it's like you just you take it all in, and we're like sponges, and we don't even perhaps realize it.
Yeah, I know. I do this with all my students. I don't know if you did it with yours, but particularly young students. I just write out a list. These are some albums that I want you to listen to.
Go and listen
over the last, like, pick the summer holidays. Like, if I'm not going to see you for 6 weeks,
go check all this out.
Here's 10 albums I want you to just digest.
Yeah,
and it's, I think what you put in is what you get out.
Absolutely. And the other
of listening.
And the other thing that I always remember was a really good comment at college, which was it was like a sort of show of hands thing, and it was like, I think it was pretty much the same as like, how many of you listen to like music like a lot, and then like show of hands, and obviously people, and then the next question was like, how many of you listen to music that you like? And then basically the hand obviously pretty much was the same. It was like, everyone listens to, if you like Metallica, everyone listens to Metallica. And then they went, how many of you listen to music you don't like?
Yeah.
And no hand up. And said, why aren't you listening to music that you don't like? Because you have got so much to learn from stuff that you don't like, you wouldn't put on driving your car or whatever you consider, because there's a whole world of knowledge in music you don't like, you wouldn't listen to, accessing,
I don't know about you, but I've exhausted all of the albums that I love. And so the idea, like, going out like that's, I literally just thought of it when you said it. What music do I listen to that I don't like? Well, I'm not a huge jazz fan, but over the last year, I'm literally forcing myself, like, put on Wes Montgomery, listen to it for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or Kind of Blue. Like, but the more you do that, the more you're like, fuck, this is actually really good.
That's right. And you either come to love it, or even if you then hopefully, if you're sort of like, want to think of it in a educational sense, like, if you don't like it, you can sit and analyze what you don't like, and actually you like, it's dissonant harmony, and I've come to realize I don't like dissonant harmony, or what have you, and you as a educational tool, like, well, I don't like it because whatever you're listening to, like, the drums are clearly rushing in this take. And analyze it, and then you've learned something. And it's just, and you just, put it in a great big melting pot, and because you never know when it comes up, or you never know when somebody will go, oh, can you play I even think, like, you play a genre right now, like, I want this to be a bit something. And you go, oh, well, I've actually listened to a lot of
I've got like
stuff. I don't like it, but I know what you mean because I've literally listened to some niche, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Some weird country back B-side that I
exactly.
have to
Exactly.
replicate.
Yeah. And I've got a point of reference because I've heard it. I don't like it, but and this is the other thing about playing stuff. It's like sometimes you're obviously asked to play things, either songs or parts that you don't like, but you have to still play them as if
you love it.
You like it. Yeah, of course. You have to play a song like you like it. You have to play a part like you like it. Because if you're being literally booked, monetarily to do it, you have a professional courtesy to the person that's paid to be there to do.
Yeah. That's weird. I don't get to do a lot of sort of recording sessions, but I had somebody drop me a message asking if I could do some little R&B loops for him. And I've never been a big fan of like modern R&B, like Usher, those that kind of space. Like it's just not my thing. But he sent over these 3 or 4 tracks. I put the songs on. I listened to them. I was like, I don't like them. But he wants me to learn the guitar parts, and the guitar parts are fucking brilliant. It's like neo soul kind of stuff. Really beautiful
cool.
chords, some really cool inversions. I was like, shit, like all this stuff is hiding underneath the stuff that I don't like. What you just said. Why aren't you listening to what stuff you don't like?
Yep.
And I was learning all this neo soul stuff, recording it and sending it off to him. I was like, that is such a cool guitar part
thing.
and I never would have got to it if he hadn't have asked me to it.
Yeah, there you go.
So what a lovely experience.
Yeah.
But Mark, I'm going to leave you there, and I'm going to let you get on with whatever you've got going on for the day. Thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really cool.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, really great to chat, and it's just nice to, because again, like I said, I don't have any current students and things like that, so it's nice to hear your take on.
Yeah, well, if you ever do, you'll experience kids that turn up that don't listen to music.
Yeah, mad.
Which is baffling.
It is baffling.
Baffling.
Yeah. It's like cutting. I want to cut people's lawns. Do you own a lawnmower?
No, I don't like lawnmowers.
Don't like lawnmowers. It's like, why are you here to cut my lawn?
And I'm allergic to grass. So
yeah. I've got an allergy. You're like, why do you want to do this?
This seems silly. Yeah. But thanks again for coming on, and I'll be seeing you next week for the sit-in.
Yeah, fabulous. We're looking forward to seeing you. Yeah, good. Yeah. I hopefully you'll have fun.
Yeah, that'll be good. So thank you again for your time, and I will speak to you soon.
Yeah, fantastic. Take care. I'm just doing it over here, but
Cool.